Welcome to the Awaken on Purpose podcast, where each week you'll hear inspirational stories of heart-centered leaders who have awakened to their higher purpose and taken that leap of faith to follow their heart and make an impact in the world. Get ready to be enlightened, empowered, and transformed with your host, Jennifer Spohr.
Pleasure to welcome as a guest to the show today, Dr. Jacqueline. She is the owner of the wellnesstrinity.com. She's a board-certified doctor of natural medicine, a certified health educator from Hippocrates Health Institute, and certified personal trainer. As the Wellness Trinity podcast host, she interviews top holistic experts to provide solutions to our modern-day health challenges. Her Cerebral Detox program uses functional medicine tests and customized detox plans to address all foundations of health in mind, body, and spirit, which leads people to have more balanced emotions, increased energy, and stronger brain power. She is also a business development consultant at Cellcore Biosciences and teaches Cellcore practitioners how to run a foundational protocol that addresses common root causes to people's illnesses. Welcome. I'm super excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm just, again, honored to be on the show.
Oh, thanks. It's an honor to have you, and I love the work that you're doing. Jacqueline, what inspired you to actually do the work that you're doing today?
So I guess in a nutshell, my dad died when I was 9 years old, and it always made me think that, okay, I have to live life to the fullest now. I knew at a young age that life is short and you can die at any time. And so I didn't want to go through life not fulfilled and doing jobs that were not making me happy, etc. So I always wanted to live life to the fullest. And then at some point I found myself, I was cocktailing in the nightlife in Las Vegas, and I realized this is just not my path. This is not who I am. And I literally saved a bunch of money, and I got rid of everything, and I traveled around the world for a year trying to figure out really what I was supposed to do in life. And that really led me down a rabbit hole where I finally started having healing in my life. I think, my dad's death was one thing, but in general, I just had a lot of stuff that I carried and then physical things going on. I never was diagnosed with something like cancer, but I did have digestive challenges. And then at some point later in my walk, my hair was falling out, which was very awful to have for a young age before I was even 30 years old. And so that led me for answers for myself, and my energy was bad at the same time. And so I just kept studying and researching, and I found myself in many different jobs in the holistic industry at some point, trying to figure out, again, fine tune what I was supposed to do. And eventually I realized, I love this stuff. I love holistic medicine. And I decided that I was going to go through a naturopathic doctorate at Trinity School of Natural Health, and then just dive more into the research of what does it mean to really get to the root causes of our health and wellness challenges. So that's kind of what I did in a nutshell. I ended up starting several businesses, and some of them didn't work out. But finally, when I honed in and studied in that program, I found what I was supposed to do. I realized I was supposed to go down this path, and then I started my business, the Wellness Trinity, and met my husband along the way. And actually, the Wellness Trinity name itself was his business. So we collaborated. And then now he doesn't really do too much in it. He's more of, he focuses on day trading, actually. And he's more of a consultant in the business versus being in the nitty gritty and consulting clients one-on-one. So I created a health coaching program through this. So I do lab tests. So it's very specific, but at the same time, there's some fundamental things that are so key that I found myself teaching people over and over again. And I decided to use the brand myself as the brain expert, because I just think it's fabulous so just knowing how the body's chemistry affects our brain and our mental wellness. And there's so many mental health challenges. I don't really like to say mental health because it kind of has a really bad connotation with it. But I like to talk about more mental wellness. What does it mean to be cognitively well, our brain completely functioning in a way that it's designed to. And so in doing so, our society can function better. We have more energy. We can produce our projects that we need to. We can sleep better. We get along with our relationships better. There's just a spiraling effect that affects everything else. The healthier our body is and our brain is. So that's it.
That's pretty awesome. And I am personally really fascinated with the work that you do and just, with the mind, body, and spirit in general. I mean, there are so many people, myself included at one point, right, that, when you go to a doctor, it just seems like, some of the people in the medical industry are really quick to kind of give you a pill as a solution. What's your recommendation, like on somebody balancing the advice of like a Western doctor versus taking more of a holistic approach?
That's a really good question, because, when people ask me questions like that, I always try to educate them on what does it mean to be healthy in the first place? Because if we understand some basic concepts of health, then it really starts to make you question what we're told. Because it does not sound very healthy. And so this is how I like to explain to my clients. When I had my live practice, I used to have a whiteboard that I would draw this picture. I do everything virtually now. So I would draw a flat line, and that's where homeostasis is at. So if we have too much of a bad thing, which are toxins and infections, so I would draw a line up. And then if we have not enough of a good thing, I would draw a line down and away from that line. And the more that we have toxins and infections, the more that we do not have enough of the nutrients that we need, the deficiencies basically, then eventually we get diagnosed with a disease if we go down the medical route. And then now we're given a pill, which we have to think about again. The problem, a lot of it, I think, in society is the toxins. The toxins are causing the body to have this dysbiosis in the gut, which now we have all these different types of funguses and parasites and candida, et cetera, growing. And then it totally disrupts our brain function as well, too. So that's another part of that. So we have to think about, if we are full of toxins and we are normally prescribed, the pill, well, what is the pill made out of? It's usually something that's not natural if you think about it. I mean, you can't patent something that is natural. So it's going to be something foreign to the body. And as far as I've learned, a toxin is not going to cure your toxic load. You're only going to add to it. There's a reason why when you take enough medications, your liver can't handle it, because you've just added more toxins to a toxic problem. That's the reason why you're sick in the first place. So, it's not to say I'm in the Pacific Northwest here, and there's a lot of mold challenges, et cetera. So there's other pathogens, and there's other reasons that people get infections as well too, or other ways that people get chemical toxicities, et cetera. But we have to just, at the fundamental root, if you are toxic, you are not going to be healthy. So why are we thinking that we can cure a disease with a toxic drug? I don't know.
What I also find interesting is, so for myself, and everybody is different, right? But in my prior career, I was stressed out a lot. And I actually used to take 2 different medications for anxiety. And then when I started implementing meditation as a regular practice, for me, after a few months, I was actually able to walk away from those medications completely. What are your thoughts on the benefits of meditation and mindfulness?
Oh, I think it's huge. I think that we have to look at the whole picture. We can't just think that we're going to just only eat our way to health. If you have toxic thoughts that are causing your body to be imbalanced, because thoughts are real things and they totally affect our chemistry. So if we have toxic thoughts, our body is going to be naturally toxic too. So that's another route that needs to be looked at in any type of holistic plan that someone has. So meditation is a great way. There's many different ways that people can do it. I I personally have been using something called a brain tab lately, and it's incredible. It's this device. It has guided visualizations and meditations that are already pre-recorded from Dr. Patrick Porter. He's the person that made this device, and you actually, I should say, this program. And then he made this device that has earphones, and then it's almost like something that goes over your eyes, like a visor. And there's light therapy that goes in your eyes and goes in your ears. And within a few minutes, it can take you into a meditative state. So it can really calm the body down and bring a person out of that that sympathetic dominant mode where they're stressed and they're in fear, etc. And just take them into that parasympathetic dominant mode where they're just calm and relaxed. And that's where healing happens. So it's huge. I mean, I talk about that in my program as well, because if they're not feeding their mind with good thoughts, I mean, it's very hard to have breakthroughs in every other area of their life as well, too.
Absolutely. Jacqueline, every experience in our lives serves a purpose in shaping who we are. What experience in your life do you feel has been the most significant in shaping who you've become today?
That is a good question. The first thing I can think about, aside from my father's death and all that, when I was working in the Las Vegas nightlife, I was working at one of the biggest, hottest nightclubs at the time, and I was not happy. I was making all kinds of money, and I was surrounded by, just people throwing around money like it was no big deal, but so empty inside. And I had started my Christian walk at some point, and I kept going to church and reading the Bible and just having this profound experience with Jesus. And eventually I just knew, I was like, I got to get out of here. So I finally surrendered. And actually, as I'm saying this, I realized I think that was it. I tattooed on my wrist, I surrender, because it just reminds me of that moment where I just finally let go. And I was like, you know what? This is not me. I need to listen. I need to, you talk a lot about intuition. I needed to wake up and listen to that voice inside me that was telling me, this is not you. And let me show you who you really are. And let me show you the path that you really should walk down, because it's much better than where you're at right now. And so I would say it was that. It was when I was so sick and tired of living a life that wasn't me.
That is really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And I love that you tattooed, I surrender.
Yeah. Sometimes I have to remember, because even though I feel like I've gone so far from that, sometimes we hang on to things that are not really serving us, even if they seem that they're good. Obviously what I was doing wasn't really the best. It wasn't really the best decision. But at the same time, sometimes we're doing things that are socially accepted and they're considered good, and they might be very positive, but they're not necessarily where we belong either. And that can really take away from our joy and our real calling and purpose in life, and really just not make us happy at the end of the day.
It's so true. I feel like surrender is an ongoing process, even a daily one. I mean, because just kind of by nature, most of us want to control, and we limit ourselves so much when we focus on getting attached to a specific outcome, or, we insist on doing specific things, and we don't just allow ourselves to be open to possibility, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, we could be walking down this path and, we want to achieve success in a certain area, and we're so fixated on something that we think is going to be the way to get there. And maybe there's another thing that we need to look at. Maybe there's another path that actually might be better, and that might actually bring us that success. Actually, as I'm speaking about this, I can give you an example. A couple months ago, right before the pandemic hit, I had been working on my Cerebral Detox program and refining it. And it got to a point where I was thinking, it might not be a bad idea to maybe have another job or some other source of revenue. Now, I've been doing my business for the last couple of years. I worked really hard to work myself out of a job. And then quite frankly, I think I was actually terrified to have a job because I have visions and dreams, and I have all this stuff that I want to do in life. And so it just, I never seemed to fit wherever I tried to work for someone else. But funnily, I don't even know if that's a word. Funny enough, something actually found me. I wasn't searching for it, but that thought came across my mind. And then all of a sudden, one of the supplement companies I use with my clients and see extremely, like, just amazing results with, and I could preach it till I'm dead probably. They reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to work for the company and help raise up their practitioners to be able to use this line. And I thought at first, okay, this is going to distract me from what I'm really supposed to do. That was literally my first thought. Even though I was honored, the owner of the company, Dr. Todd Watts, he is incredible. Him and Dr. J, I've been following for years, and just a true honor and blessing to even know Dr. Watts. And so the fact that he was asking me this, I was actually pretty honored. I'm like, wow, I can't believe you know all these people and you thought of me. There's so many other people I'm sure you could have asked for this position. But at the same time, I'm always trying to be in tune with what is it that I'm really supposed to do, because I don't want to be distracted from my real purpose and calling in life. And so at first I got to a point where I was like, I'm not going to take this opportunity. And then I had some profound dreams and just woke up knowing one day that I was supposed to take this job on. And I saw all the pieces of everything I was doing come together. So while I was really trying to not have a job ever again, I got presented this opportunity. I saw how it made so much sense. And it made sense for me in my business, but it also made sense for me for a long-term career. And even now I look back and I'm like, I can't believe I thought that I would not take this opportunity. The people that I've met through there, the joy that I've had consulting other practitioners, the extra money I'm making, everything about it, the people I even work for, I just feel like a stronger practitioner and a stronger businesswoman as a result as well too. So you just never know what life is going to throw you. I had no idea that was coming my way, but I had to really sit still and really meditate on it to receive that answer. And now I just feel like I've opened up a whole new can of worms. It's just like just an amazing blessing. So while everyone was losing their jobs, or let's just say a lot of people during the pandemic, I actually got blessed with one without even trying.
Well, but it seems like it complements the work that you're already doing really well. And that's important, right, to discern, because there are people out there who start a business and then, results don't always come right away, right? Because you're building relationships, and whoever said that saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. So it's important to be patient. And at the same time, it's like, if you're thinking of getting a job, definitely look at your motives behind ultimately getting the job, right? Because sometimes I feel like there are people out there that just, it's like they quit right before the finish line. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I'll say on that topic of looking for a job, when I was at a point where I had to find a job, I really did try to find something that complemented my longer term vision. So I was learning, I was learning on the job. Once I decided I was going to live for purpose, even the job that I tried to take was going to be complementing that purpose in some way or another. And luckily I was able to find a bunch of them that, I was able to learn and grow with. And I'm probably still connected to some of the people even to this day. So I agree. I think even when you look for a job, if it's not your own, if you're not building your own business, then try to find it in the realm of how does it fit your purpose. And for some people, maybe it might not be exactly that. Maybe their purpose is something that's outside of their job, their main purpose. But for me personally, I just figured if I'm going to be working, if I'm going to be spending this many hours a day invested into something, I want it to be something I love and enjoy and that can really help benefit people for good.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you a lot of the people that listen to this podcast and that, and that follow me on a regular basis are definitely people who are meant to do a greater work that is, integrated with what they would be doing full time. So I thank you so much for providing that advice. And on that note, especially with the events that have been unfolding in our world in the last few months, it's important now more than ever, I believe, for people to start answering that call. What advice would you have for others who are out there right now, kind of in that crossroads, feeling called to do more? What would you suggest that they do to be able to take action?
Wow, that is so true what you said. The world needs you to be you right now. And you are so absolutely correct. My life coach, I did a podcast. I have a podcast too. And I interviewed her a few months ago during the whole pandemic craziness when it first started. And that's exactly what she said too. I mean, we need to shine our light. And the more that we are our authentic self and that we shine our light and become the person that we're called to be, the more we're going to help heal this world. So I'll start with that. And then, to be able to take the first step is you have to just take a first step. I mean, sometimes it's a big mountain. It feels like we're chipping away at. I mean, me and you are both finishing programs, and then there's this and there's that. There's a podcast. There's this other marketing thing, and there's this other job, and there's so many things that can fill our life up that can really stop us from doing what we're called to do. But at some point, once we hone in on what it is, then you just have to start chipping away. I mean, it's as simple as that. Every day, put your time in, or plan your time. Maybe it's not every day. Maybe it's once a week you do so. But we talked about this off air where we're talking about scheduling certain things that we need to do. And I think that's huge. I know it sounds so simple, but it can be so profound for someone in the moment when you feel overwhelmed that with everything that you got to do in life. Just planning that you're not going to think about it today, so you can focus on what you got to do today, but maybe we're going to do it next week, or maybe we're going to plan like 3 days this month. So I think, first of all, planning to take the first step, but also scheduling it too.
Absolutely. It's so important to, I look to schedule as many things as I can personally, because it's so important to get visibility to our time. A great example would be that, my business is mostly virtual, right? So anybody, whether it's their business or not, could spend an endless amount of time online unless they start to cap that time, right? So it's so important for us to look at is how we're spending our time aligned with the vision we have for our life.
Yeah, exactly. And just look at it. I mean, I coach a group of ladies right now already, and I was just having this conversation with one of them who I see her greatness emerging. I see her finally starting to have some healing with her body and her brain, and she's able to she wants to do some type of healing work as well. And so it's not that easy when you're a mom. Her relationship's not necessarily the best. It's hard to communicate with her husband. So she's kind of left in the dark in some ways. She has 3 kids that she's homeschooling. And so, we're coaching through how can she start to do this. And, I think that one, you have to have the desire. And if you don't have desire, then I mean, you're just going to be stuck in the rut. I was a world champion color guard dancer, and my instructor said, desire overcomes all fear and doubt. So if you have desire, when the going gets rough, it's going to keep you going. And I can't tell you how many hurdles I've had to jump over to get to where I'm at right now. I didn't have a car for a couple years. So I was building a business and going to school and trying to figure all that out without a car and working. And I had lots of debt. I mean, I had every excuse you can think of. I was, single and lonely and wanted to get married. And, my years were starting to come up, and it's like, I want to be married and have kids. And yet there's this thing, but no, I had that desire so strong to figure this business out where I could help people get healthy. And in some ways, I almost don't even know where that desire came from, but it was there, And so, that's what kept me going. That's what kept me going when it got rough. I remember looking in the mirror one day and asking myself, why am I doing this? I mean, I was living at home again, and it's just a very toxic situation with my family, with certain people that were living in my house. And I was like, why am I doing this? Like, why don't I just go and get a job with my degree? And I have a degree in business administration, and, just do something else. And the thought of not pursuing it just irked me so much that I was like, I had to just figure it out. And the one thing that I felt like I got spoken back to in that situation was, because you're going to be telling other people this, how you got through that moment. You're going to be coaching people, and they're going to be asking you, how did you persist when the going got rough? And so, like what we're doing now, it's just funny when I get on these podcasts, and that I didn't even plan for that to come up, but I am always reminded that there's a reason why you go through your trials and tribulations. And I feel like I just got on a tangent and don't think I answered your question, but I'm sure that someone needed to hear that.
No, you did. And yeah, that's how I feel too. I mean, anything that you're feeling guided that comes up, it's definitely something that someone needed to hear. And it's so true that I say often, our life is our message. Every experience that we have, including the painful, challenging ones, serve a purpose in helping us to support others on their journey. And what you say about desire is so true. You have to have that desire on your heart. I remember when I started my business a couple of years ago, I am so passionate about my mission that I remember saying to somebody, you know what, I don't care if I have to live off of Top Ramen and take coaching calls living in my car or whatever. I'm not stopping. And it never got to that point. But that goes back to mindset as well, right? It's like knowing you're aligned with your purpose, with your path, making a decision and moving ahead no matter what. And a lot of it is also faith.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not easy to follow that call, but having that faith, I think is it's so huge for, why I kept going too. I knew that God had big plans for me, and I just had to keep chipping away at it. And so, like you said, Rome wasn't built overnight. I have to explain this even with detoxing with people. People want to get healthy, and they're like, well, what's the magic pill again? They're stuck in that medical mode where they're like, oh, there must be a pill for this. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to give you several pills actually, but there's a whole other area and many other areas that we need to look at if you're going to be balanced in your health and in your life, that is going to contribute to being healthy and getting well. And so, even with health, like nothing good is usually comes overnight. It takes persistence and it takes being intuitive, like you said, and listening to see the opportunities as well. Sometimes that we just overwhelm ourselves with the busyness that we miss the opportunity that's right in front of us. And I'm actually, I don't know if I would say I'm guilty of that, but I had this revelation this month again, that I was tracking all my progress on everything I was doing with my Cellcore part of my business, and how many people I'm reaching out to, et cetera. And I know some of business is a numbers game on how many people you can reach out to, et cetera. And then I really was just stopped in my tracks for like a week or so. I kind of reflect on what I'm doing, and for several days I kept writing about how quality is better than quantity sometimes. And so I was just thinking about it more, and how to be more purposeful with the interactions I am making versus just trying to reach my numbers on how many interactions I'm making. If I make 100 interactions and they're all bad, versus if I make 5 really good ones and they're all good, obviously the 5 interactions that are really good, and that I've done some research, that I'm being intuitive with it, it's obviously going to be way more worth more probably in the end than those 100 interactions that were not really well thought out.
So true. Jacqueline, how can someone find you if they want to connect with you and learn more about what you're up to?
So my website, thewellnesstrinity.com, and there's the in front, THE. Some people just put Wellness Trinity. So thewellnesstrinity.com. And then if you want to hear my podcast, you will put /podcast. Then I have a whole bunch of people I interview on there as well. And then my Cerebral Detox program is the program that you mentioned in my bio, where I help people to completely detox their body and their brain so they can think better, have more energy, and be more intuitive overall. So that's my program, and you can find that at cerebraldetox.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on to the show today and just for all of the wisdom that you shared. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much again for having me. And I really hope that some of the content today really spoke to some people, and some of it I really hope helps people to make some shifts in their life that are going to be just extremely pivotal for them.
No doubt it's helpful. Thank you again.
All right, take care.
Thank you for listening to the Awake and On Purpose podcast. Please visit us and subscribe to the podcast at awakeandonpurpose.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about how you can connect with your higher purpose and take that leap of faith to make your impact in the world, visit us at jenniferspor.com. And while you're there, be sure to join our email list for exclusive offers and a weekly dose of inspiration.